Welcome back to the ONOG Summer Circuit EU Qualifier number 5. We're moments away from jumping into the final match of the day, and one of these players is going to be competing in feature tournament number 3 for their chance to go to PAX in Seattle at the end of August. I'm Osmo, joined by Aquablad once again, and I'm going to ask you for your predictions going into this because we've seen both these guys today. Both these guys have had pretty strong performances. So who are you looking to take this? Prediction time, Aquablad.
I would probably say Let Me Farm. I think Let Me Farm has been the stronger player out of the two. But you got to give credit to Demo. Saitri was a very strong opponent. I mean, it did come down to kind of a very swingy Bane of Doom, which won in the game. I mean, it was a bad matchup for Saitri anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to put it for Let Me Farm. Are you gonna counter me that with Demo?
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and say Demo here. This is going to be. I think it's going to be pretty close. Both these players have really good lineups here. I actually think Let Me Farm. I just said that because I have to sort of be the advocate for Demo here. Let Me Farm, I think, lineup does match up well against Demo's. His Rogue and Patron Warrior have decent matchups against most of these decks, and Druid can find wins against most things. I think it is just going to come down to how the matchups line up. If Let Me Farm can match his Rogue against the Druid, and then match his Patron Warrior against the Warlock, then he could be in a good spot. But on the other hand, if Demo puts his Hunter up against the Rogue, and then his Druid in a mirror matchup and wins, it could be a little bit different. But I think the matchups favor Let Me Farm if we look at them head to head.
Yeah, I agree there. I'd like to see the Rogue. I'm most excited for the Rogue from Let Me Farm because we saw a really strong Rogue mirror from him. So I'd like to see how he matches up against other matchups, how his experience comes into play. With Demo, we saw his mid-lock very briefly almost because of the Bane of Doom swing. So we still see whatever potential or whatever tech cards that deck has. We didn't see any Sea Giants, we didn't see any Sylvanuses. So there's still a lot of things to see in that deck. Whereas Let Me Farm, we kind of got to see everything, I think, apart from, say, some of the kind of choices you can have, maybe Cenarius over Rag, or not run Cenarius at all, not run Rag at all, and just run Dr. Boom. There's a lot of kind of little tweaks you can do here and there with Druid. So yeah, it's very much going to come down with how these guys match up. I wonder if they kind of... One of the things I find interesting with Conquest sometimes, some things I like to think about is what my opponent's thinking I'm going to match up into them. Or if you don't respect your opponent that much and you think he's not going to be thinking that way, you can kind of just try to match up your optimized game. But there's also the dice. Just roll a dice, and then not let mind games come into it at all.
At the end of the day, unless you absolutely know that your opponent always has 100% the same pattern with how they pick their decks, picking a deck at random is the way to go because it's 99.9% random. There's not a player out there who's on a competitive enough level that has a pattern with how they pick their decks, because that's one way that you lose in Conquest. You lose the mind games is if you just do the same thing over and over again. So rolling dice usually ends up being the same way, and I mean, I guess that's Hearthstone. The games have a little bit of randomness to them, and the way your decks line up have a little bit of randomness to them. That's just the sort of the excitement that comes with it, and it's the reason why Conquest is less stale than Last Hero Standing was, because in Last Hero Standing, a lot of times it ended up being the same matchups over and over again. Everybody opened with Druid. Druid versus Druid Mirror was the most common matchup in Game 1 of Last Hero Standing by far. So,
and then there was the counterpick wars, and that was That's what was Last Hero Standing. It was win your first game and counterpick your way to victory.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't as simple as that. That's kind of it on paper, but
a lot of matches seem to come down to that, where it would be a Druid versus Druid mirror, and the player that drew Wild Growth won the whole series, because they'd win the first match, counterpick their second deck, and then then they would lose the win, counterpick the next deck, and then But I like Conquest a lot better for this reason, because you see a lot of diversity in the decks and a lot of diversity in which matchups you see in which order.
We're looking at the lineups as well. Like Demo not bringing Warrior. I mean, we usually see Warrior in a lot of lineups now, just because of the strength of Patron. But he does have the kind of the Warlock Hunter, so he's got that shell of one of the three kind of god classes right now, and with the flavor pick. But whereas Let Me Farm, he's only opted for the Patron. You know, he's not utilizing the strength of Hunter and Warlock, which are really strong in this meta right now. And Rogue, which we discussed at the start of the stream, you know, is kind of in a shaky place right now. It's not getting as much mileage as it did back when Aura Rogue kind of exploded onto the scene. And Druid, you know, is a deck that's coming back into the meta with these control warriors kind of showing up to counter Patron, and it does good against Handlock, which is another good deck against Patrons. So that's kind of how the Hearthstone meta generally works. Decks coming to counter others, then decks coming to counter those decks, and decks coming to counter, and it just goes in a big circle.
Yep. All right, well, looks like the players are just about ready. And we're going to jump into game number 1. It's going to be Let Me Farm on the Patron Warrior versus Demo on the Hunter. And this was pretty much pure mid-range Hunter, if I remember correctly.
Yep, it was Leo who ran the more aggressive variation of Hunter. So this could go either way now, this matchup. A lot of pro players are saying it's kind of 50-50. The mid-Hunter does have the opportunity to beat Patron, is not as one-sided as some of the other Patron matchups. But it is Patron. It is that combo deck that is capable of many things, as well as 40 damage out of hand turn, 40 damage from hand, which we saw earlier today in the stream. So it's going to be a good match.
Yeah. And this is a good curve from Let Me Farm early on. Loot Hoarder into Armorsmith. And Demo actually draws into Freezing Trap. And so it was actually lit up for that turn. So I believe it's explosive that he... yeah, it is. It's explosive. Because I believe those were the only 2 traps that he was running. Hoffer actually ended up being a pretty decent pickup there because he's able to trade into the Armorsmith, which can sometimes get out of control in this matchup.
Yeah, and he kind of protects his... It almost seems like he's protecting a Freezing Trap as well. But it looks like he's just going to play the Freezing Trap anyway. So if he was kind of going for that mind game, it kind of makes it redundant now. So a Hero Power here could be a good mind game, but he just seems to want to get a trap down. Explosive Trap loses its value the longer the game goes into. He kind of needs it to go before turn 7-8, depending on Forest and another kind of variable. So he's going to want this to get. You want to see this disappear quite quickly.
That just seems weird to me. I feel like even in mid-range Hunter, you need to weave in your Hero Power. He doesn't have a play for next turn. His play next turn could be Freezing Trap Hero Power. So if he had Hero Powered that turn, it would have opened up more options for him. But I guess in the long run, it doesn't really mean that much, especially if he picks up something to play.
Doesn't find anything. He might have to trade Huffer here and just Hero Power Pass, which is, like you said, considerably weaker than just Hero Power on last turn. And if I was a warrior and I knew this it was mid range, I would have just had a safe bet that it was freezing anyway. And because he traded into the Armorsmith, he was kind of almost protecting his Freezing Trap. So it can a bit of a bluff there, but he just didn't play to the bluff. He just decided to throw 2 traps down and kind of take the guesswork away from Let Me Farm.
Yeah, that play just didn't make much sense to me. Didn't make much sense. Oh well, he's going to be able to play Jaime on turn 6, which is a pretty big deal. But he did miss 2 damage. Let Me Farm could be at 22 health right now, and if at any point in this game Demo's 2 damage off lethal, we know it's because he misplayed. It's not straight up a misplay, because if he picked up something to play, then it would have been okay. But it just seems like
he was gambling on a draw.
Yeah.
He was gambling on a top deck, which if you can avoid, you most likely want to do in Hearthstone, because of, well, we've seen what top decks can do. They can be really bad or they can be really good. But in that case, it wasn't great, and now he's just running around with a little Dogi and a Freezing Trap. He hasn't got a lot going on. He couldn't play Jaime in that turn, which is what was his power play for the Hunter, kind of in this mid-range game.
I'm very confused.
Oh, Dr. Boom, so he picks up another power card here. He's going to just slam that straight away. This Freezing Trap, okay, so I thought he was going for the Armorsmith there, but Huh.
Whirlwind execute next turn is going to be huge.
Do you know he could actually get extra value from his Acolyte of Pain here if it survives? Because if he whirlwinds now and the Acolyte of Pain survives, he could run that into the freezing and he can pick up it up again to start drawing more cards. But it's going to very much depend on where these bombs go.
Well, Nemo has a cat.
Oh yeah.
It's a black cat, so it's a little bit harder to see. But we've had a lot of pets on One Nation of Gamers on the summer circuit for the past couple weeks. We had Hoj with his bird over the
Yeah,
weekend.
is Budgie. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
What was its name? Pidgey. Pidgey, the
Pidgey.
Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the sign's going to come down here to prevent this. The second, well, this is his last patron actually.
Yeah. Let Me Farm can just set up lethal here. He swings with Despite this turn. Just Warsong, double frothing, swings with Despite next turn. And basically that puts Demon in a situation where he has to draw Houndmaster or he just loses the game. Because just those alone, even with nothing on the board, is 14 damage. So if there's only one creature on the board, it's way more than 15. So I think that is going to make this a win for Let Me Farm.
He does clear the board without using his health, so he is a bit cautious of a Frothing Berserker, but there's two, so...
There is two. And
yeah,
that's plenty of damage. And Let Me Farm ends this game at 23 health.
Oh, and an inner rage to boot.
For good measure. Yep. So, I feel like Let Me Farm played that pretty well. And manages to find it seemed like a relatively easy victory.
Not only that, I think Let Me Farm has played really well this whole tournament anyway. From what I've seen, I mean, his rogue play was good. Even though I know he got the sprint, but it was, I still liked his rogue play. He had a good patron run as well. And Druid, I mean, Druid most of the time is quite straightforward to play, but he's his lineup is really matched up well, and he's making good plays, good reads, and he's really utilizing like the strengths of his hand. The double throbbing, setting up for lethal there. So yeah, good play to him, and he'll take game number 1. So he's almost there. He's almost going to be qualifying for the next part of this event.
Yeah, the future tournament number 3, which won't happen until August, I do believe. We're going to have to fit the last future tournaments in August, I suppose. And so he's going to move into the next matchup here. It is going to be... Demon's going to throw out the Hunter once again, and Let Me Farm's going to throw out the Rogue.
So this is, from what we could tell, was more traditional oil rogue, whereas Leo opted to use those goblin auto barbers, trying to mix things up. A variation of oil rogue, which has come a little bit popular among some of the players. But yeah, this looks like a stronger hand for Demo here. It's a really steady curve. Whereas Let Me Farm, he's going to need to find some stuff, maybe a backstab here and there, or the Phantom Eye as well. Be really useful if he can pick up a backstab for clearing the Haunted Creeper and the Web Spinner. So, could be it's looks like a dagger turn here. Clear up this 1/1.
Yeah, this matchup is just so tough for the Hunter. It just feels like they take so much damage early that they never get a chance to stabilize. But he does have a pretty decent hand. He's got some turns where he's going to be able to stabilize. If he picks up a prep and he can like prep out a Fan of Knives and
Wait a minute. We were talking about this card earlier, and that is a Snapjaw.
Yeah, it came from the Web Spinner, yeah.
So he's got some he's got some a good high mask target here. It's quite prone to sap, but it can make a steady wall, and he might feel like he needs to sap this maybe. It's looking a kind of a weak line of play going forward.
I don't know. If you sap this, then you're not doing anything else. You're not redaggering. Next turn, I suppose you could Deadly Poison SI.
But you might as well have a clean dagger if you're going to do that.
Yeah. So it looks like he's just going to fan. That's brutal. Super brutal.
Oh, what's he gonna get? Is this another Misha? Double Misha? I'm pretty sure Rexar doesn't have two bears.
Yeah. Well, oh man, this is just he can't even deadly Blade Flurry and clear off the board because he's 1 mana off from being able to Blood Mage. He's 1 mana off from redaggering and hitting one and doing it. He might just have to just suck it up and play Violet Teacher here. Then he's taking 8 damage at least next turn.
You never want to take that much damage from a hunter this early because of all his other burst options, and he's got a Pilot of Shredder to follow up. So it's just relentless pressure coming from Demo here, and Let Me Farm trying to figure out a way to deal with it, and it doesn't really. There's not really an effective way to clear this board or just handle the incoming damage. Do you think just slamming Violet Teacher here is just what you have to do? Just have to suck it up, take that 8 damage.
Yeah, it feels like it. It also sort of encourages Demo to kill it because he can get a lot of value out of it by just using spells. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He can just clear it off with whatever he decides to, like do it on the healthy one, clear off the Violet Teacher, and still start pushing damage.
Although this does set up a good Blade Flurry for him.
Yeah, and he there's actually no reason to redagger up here since he's not going to attack into anything anyway. So he can Deadly Poison Blade Flurry and then either redagger or throw down on Blood Mage. Yeah, he's actually just going to throw down the Blood Mage to get the extra damage on the face.
I wonder if it was worth Demo considering keeping up a healthy 4/4 bear just to play around Deadly Poison, because Deadly Poison Blade Flurry was going to be the way he was going to get back into this game. But it didn't. Ultimately, it didn't matter because of the Blood Mage. But it might have just been worth considering that. Oh, it lines up perfectly there with the knife taking out that Blood Mage. Not getting a card either.
Well, this is okay. Double SI. It's not too bad. You can combo one and be able to kill the Knife Juggler. You're almost guaranteed to have something on the board next turn to maybe get with oil. One of the ways you win this matchup as a rogue is to race. So if you can manage to pick up some damage, or a way to combo Tinker to put some extra beef onto one of these SI agents, he might be able to start piecing together enough damage to engage in a race.
Yep, that's definitely one way to do it. I mean, this you kind of have to play your strategy as a rogue to your hand sometimes. If you do have a lot of these kind of tinkers and bursty options, it's generally better to just race them. Whereas sometimes you might have just quite a reactive hand, and then you have to kind of play the slow game. But picking up the backstabs is excellent for him. He can clear out the Shredder if he wants.
You can clear the board, just sap the Shredder and backstab the SI agent. Then we left with, wow, 7 power on board with oil plus Blade Flurry in hand. This might be the start of a turnaround for Let Me Farm.
It's often spoken that the sap is very important for the high main, but Let Me Farm he had to clear the board there. He had to set up for his game plan, which is going to be the race with his Tinkers. So yeah. he didn't really have the option to save it, and it protects both his minions as well. This is awkward, actually.
I think he's going to have to kill command this Azure Drake. I don't know if he can leave this much power up on the board. Because all of a sudden you're looking at it, even if he just daggers up, Tinkers, and Blade Flurries next turn, he's looking at 16 damage. If he finds something to combo it over the next couple turns, and that's going to be even more. So it looks like he's going to Hana Creeper, kill command the Azure Drake, and just probably play the Freezing Trap just to protect himself from the damage. Nope, he Hero Pass. His play, I don't know. His Freezing Trap usage is so inconsistent. I just can't get a read on this guy.
So the golden rule of Rogue, I find when you play them, don't let them have anything on board if you can help it, because this stuff happens and it hurts. Yeah. He was hovering over the Snapjaw, but I think one thing he considered was the Snapjaw couldn't clear the SI on its own. So when he played a Haunted Creeper, it was obvious Freezing Trap's going to come down, right? You protect yourself from a big Tinker's turn, but he just didn't go for it. It's very, very sketchy play.
Yeah. I don't know. The freezing, now that you freeze it, it's already gotten in 6 damage, and now he can just combo it back. He could Blade Flurry, and then, well, he can Sap, and then Blade Flurry, and then Sap, freezing it, replay it, then Blade Flurry, and Redagger, and be left with a 3/3 in an empty board. He might even save the Blade Flurry, to be honest, and go push for face damage here.
Oh, it looks like we might have a bit of a card bug here.
Or maybe he's just deciding what to combo with. Yeah, I think he was just deciding what to combo it. Deciding if he wanted to use Blade Flurry now or save it.
I like this, actually. Clearing the Haunted Creeper. We've seen Houndmasters from Demo in previous sets, so it does play around that.
Oh, quick shot picked up. That's huge.
All right, so the Hunter's still in this almost. Some bad draws from Let Me Farm could cost him the game. Maybe if he draws a prep or something now, it could prove really fatal. Oh, a sprint.
The perfect card off the top. Sousy Deckhand.
Oh, wow.
That's so game. That's game. The perfect cards.
He drew into perfect lethal there.
Wow. And Demon was like, what can you even do? What can you even do? That is just nuts. Perfect card off the top with Sprint, and then he draws into almost the only combination he could actually get for lethal. He could have drawn into... He would have needed Deadly Poison, Prep, Eviscerate, or Deckhand, Prep, Eviscerate. Because those are the only 2 1-mana things that he has left in his deck since he'd already used one of his deadlies. So, wow, Let Me Farm goes into a really rough matchup. It was looking... You 2 Mishas plus a Houndmaster, and all of a sudden he comes back and manages to win. I feel like Demo could have won that. That one turn, if he had played the Freezing Trap, he could have prevented 6 extra damage. Instead of hero powering. It feels like his play is just inconsistent. Like the last turn, he decided to Freezing Trap instead of weaving in 2 extra damage against a class where the damage matters more. And this turn, he decides to weave in a hero power instead of play Freezing Trap when the damage matters less. I don't know.
Well, look at that. If he'd done that sprint and he had played the Freezing Trap, he may have had enough health to survive the burst from the sprint there.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that sprint was a marathon. I mean, that drew perfectly. It's very rare you see a sprint draw so perfect. He needed, like, very key cards there to finish off that game in that turn. I was expecting him to draw enough to do, like, enough damage. Maybe just a set lethal for the next turn, but not everything he needed to win. And look at Let Me Farm's hand here. He actually threw away a Shredder. I mean, double Shredder on the coin seems really strong. I don't know why you throw that away, but he does actually get double Shade here, which could potentially be even stronger because he might not need to use them to trade, and they're just going to grow and grow and make that combo and trading later on even more deadly.
You could iterate Shade into Coin Shade. It will mess up his curve with Shredder and Druid of the Claw, but if you can pick up something to play in between, then he'll be okay. But just getting these shades out early in the mirror matchup is super huge.
How does a Druid deal with them? They just don't. Poison Seeds, anyone? I don't think he's running it, so it's really tough for these Druids to deal with these shades. They're not going to reveal them unless they're going to need to trade, to perhaps save themselves, or they're just going to let them sit there, brew into these massive creatures, and all of a sudden a Savage Roar comes out and you're done because he's got 8/9/9 shades sitting there with a Savage Roar pumping behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Very scary for Demo here, staring down these growing shades. He gets a shade of his own, but, you know, 2 is better than 1, so it's looking good for Let Me Farm. Even a hero power on turn 3, sorry, isn't too bad. He has these shades brewing, he has board, he has a massive curve coming up, so it's looking fantastic for him. Actually, he gets the damage here. Interesting.
Yeah, that seems a little bit interesting. He curves out so well, though. This does allow him to fight for board pretty heavily. And he's putting on pressure, which is a big thing. Like, sometimes all you need is just the pressure early. Shades, even being stealth, apply pressure, just sort of like mentally. But I felt like that gave Demo like a way back in.
He didn't really have a play for that turn. because what was his play? Wild Growth Hero Power Pass. Yeah, I find that shade attack quite questionable. I'm not entirely sure what his game plan was with them.
Yeah. Since the last patch, there's been some issues with spectator mode for druids whenever they have to play a card where they pick one, like Druid of the Claw, Ancient of Lord Wrath. Sometimes the card sticks on the board, so you might see the players flip-flopping as we try and fix each individual perspective. Just keep in mind that each player, their face lines up with their hand, so like we're now seeing the sort of their perspective of let me farm on the bottom now, since we had the bug going on. So just keep in mind that the players might flip a little bit in this matchup.
So Let Me Farm actually landed a fish there, and that Pagel reeling in that big one, getting himself a swipe. Nat Pagel was a card that was just auto-include in so many decks when its effect was at the end of your turn. And now they just did like a little tweak to him. Let's just switch it to the front, and he became unplayable. And, Forason, I don't think he'll receive the same treatment, but if he was going to get nerfed, that could potentially be a way to nerf it. I don't know if that would kill the card or not.
Wow, this is a full board clear.
Oh yeah, that's a really effective board clear from Demo. So Demo showing that he's got the plays there. He can make these good decisions, but he has made some questionable ones during all the series, both series he's played.
Yeah. Let Me Farm still feels like he has like card advantage here, like quality of creatures. But if Demo picks up, it's actually really even. As far as ramping up went, Demo got the Wild Growth where Let Me Farm didn't, so he's sort of a mana ahead. Oh, Dr. Boom. That's going to be good once the board is sort of settles down a little bit.
He's got sort of clear here with he could keep the Shredder, swipe the Shredder, run the Druid in. It just leaves a token up. It might even be worth playing Big Game Hunter for tempo here. He's only got 2 cards in hand. I would have maybe liked to have seen Big Game Hunter. Oh, okay. So
why did he?
Wait, what?
Huh. I think that was a mistake. Yeah, that was 100% a mistake. He hero powered into the sludge bunch at the end of clearing anyway. I think it's getting late over there. Both these players are in Eastern Europe, so I'm pretty sure it's you're in England, and what time is it there?
Let's have a look. So it's 8 o'clock. So it's probably about 9, 10 o'clock for them.
Are you sure?
Maybe. I don't know. My time.
One sec.
Got a bit of research here into the time zones. So Dr. Boom comes down here. Big power play from the Druid. Not really an answer to it. So it's not really an answer to it just yet. Whereas Let Me Farm has a Big Game Hunter ready for any kind of big plays that come. Oh, for the Dr. Boom that's going to come from Demo eventually. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, he picks up a Shade. I'm sure he'd rather that be a BGH, but having a 3-drop is still pretty good here. Now this is actually a tough. Yeah, I think Lotheb's big. You need to sort of lock up the board. You know that your opponent doesn't have BGH because he would have played it that turn with exactly 3 mana left, so he has to top deck it. So Lotheb would lock out the board here. It could allow him to like push face damage and not have to worry about being comboed, and also set up a huge board.
So I think there's a few options you can go here. I think you could use these bots to try and snipe off that Shade. Which I think is probably a good idea here. Just kind of get more of the board back. Play the low feb to lock out any potential combo or any potential removal. And I would like to see the Druid go in charge form here and really push for damage.
Yeah.
And not only the one thing that's scary about Charge Druid as well is it can also be a mind game of telling your opponent you have combo. Because if you're pushing for charge here, he might just think,
wow.
Just concedes off that. He didn't have anything he could play.
Yeah.
I mean, even if Dr. Boom came down, the BGH was sitting there ready, and so Let Me Farm actually takes the series. He will be playing in the next phase of this tournament. I'll have a chance to go to PAX.
Yeah, so he'll also win $125, 10 Hearthstone World Championship points, and 10 Geico points. So big congratulations to Let Me Farm. The next feature tournament, so feature tournament number 3 that Let Me Farm will actually play in, is August 6th. Starts on August 6th, so it runs August 6th through 9th. So it is a couple weeks away. But that he'll have a chance to compete for $3,000, and if he wins, then he'll get that invite to PAX. And 10 Geico points is actually quite a bit as well. So there's a chance at the end of the season that he can qualify for PAX through points. So if he places highly in the feature tournament that he's going to participate in, or manages to place highly in another one of the qualifiers, then he'll definitely be one of the front runners for qualifying for PAX through Geico points. So definitely an impressive performance for Let Me Farm.
There's still several opportunities for him to get back into these circuit finals. So, he could get more points from that. I'm pretty sure he's going to be grinding out these tournaments even more just to kind of secure his trip to PAX. If he doesn't win the feature, he still has a big opportunity there to win. And, it's not the end for Geico yet. There's still a lot of tournaments left to play in all through August, so you still have a lot of opportunities. You, the players, guys who are watching, you can get involved over at the websites on your screen, so be sure to check them out, get involved, get these Geico points, get these World Championship points, win some money. It's a great format, it's a great tournament, and you may get some spotlight from this stream.
Yeah, the next NA qualifier actually is tomorrow, and the next EU qualifier is on the 3rd of August. So liquidhearth.com, on the right side of the screen under upcoming events, there's links to the One Nation Gamers, or ONOG qualifiers. So head on over there, like Aquablad said, sign up and have your chance to compete, and even have your games broadcast. If you're an up-and-coming Hearthstone pro, this is a great way for you to get initiated with the scene, so do that. And of course, as always, geico.onog.gg. Head on over there. Show Geico your support. They are the title sponsor for this event, and entering in for the giveaways, entering for your Geico quote, and signing up for the newsletters are a great way to show Geico that you support and appreciate what they're doing with this event and with esports. But I think that's going to do it for us. Aquabot, do you have any final words or shout-outs that you'd like to give before I close it out?
Shout-outs to Geico, Liquid Earth, TSM, all the guys who have, and I know One Nation of Gaming, all the guys who have brought these events together, given opportunities to up-and-coming players like Let Me Farm, like Demo, and the other players who participated today. This is a good platform for you guys to really show what you're made of, show consistency if you want to get those Geico points and get your chance to go to PAX. So, a big shout-out to those guys for giving this opportunity to not only myself, I play in these tournaments, but all the other players and teams out there. And apart from that, big shout out to London Conspiracy, my team, and the support they give me. So that's it from me, really.
All right, well, thank you very much for the day of casting. The next broadcast for us will be on Thursday, I do believe, for NA Qualifier number 5. So we'll definitely see you guys then. So from myself, from One Nation of Gamers, Team Liquid, and everybody involved with this broadcast, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.